Have you ever been in an open field and thought to yourself, I could really go with some blaringly loud music right about now? Yeah, you in video games thought so too. Video games and music have gone hand in hand ever since the advent of the medium. They create ambience and add a layer of characterization that no other video game element can do, except of course, sound design. You drop me in a haunted house with no music, but good sound design, and I will shit my pants regardless. So, it's not surprising that many people hold video game music dear to their heart. However, let's talk about the challenge that open world video games pose to the composition of its music. Open world games seem to have taken center stage in recent times, with more and more games adopting the style, such as the classically linear franchise The Legend of Zelda. There's a challenge many composers need to overcome with this style of game. The challenge is composing music for large plots of land and successfully building a world around them. In linear games such as Majora's Mask for instance, music in an open world-like map doesn't pose that much of a challenge given that the player will eventually exit a section of the map to load another section. This makes the transition between overworld themes a rather easy task. However, in a truly open world game such as Breath of the Wild, you don't have such luxuries, and this is where the challenge arises. Think about it this way: you're at the airport about to go on a trip to Miami. The airport is noisy and the ambience is filled with chatter, sneakers squeaking, people coughing, and noise from the overhead TVs with news updates. 20 minutes later, you're inside the airplane. A lot more noise for sure, but a more consistent noise from the engines fills your ears. A few hours later, and you're getting off the plane and strolling the streets of Miami with sights and sounds that probably only the Vice City can offer. You hear music blasted from the dance club around the corner, people laughing and talking. You hear the waves crashing on the shores. Still a noisy ambience, but a different noise. However, here's the deal. You didn't necessarily stop and acknowledge the change of sounds, did you? That's because our lives play out much like an open world game. There's no loading screens, no fade to black, no transitions really. It's all seamless. And therein lies the challenge of composing music for open world games. Let's take for example the Terminal Field theme for Majora's Mask. As soon as you exit Clocktown, it's a fade to black. Then the blaring theme starts playing. There's an immediate disconnect from one area to the other. No such thing in Breath of the Wild. Everything is connected. And here is where the auditory transitions need to be seamless to not take the player out of the experience. In order to be successful in the composition of this kind of music, a few musical elements need to be taken into consideration. First element is compatibility. This refers to how well one piece of music can work with the next piece of music. This in itself can include a number of elements, such as key, timbre, rhythm, melody, etc. The real trick with compatibility is composing music a certain way to make it seem as two pieces of music can work together. The genius of a composer is that they know just what keys of music or chord progressions work with each other, regardless of the genre of music. Starting from a common note or chord can make the composition of the music a lot easier and the transition from piece to piece a lot smoother. This is how a lot of DJs and producers create mashups of, let's say, old music with new music, and they can make it work sometimes. Sometimes. Instruments. This seems a little bit obvious, but the use of the same kind of instruments can make the music mesh a lot better. For example, it would be extremely hard to transition from a piece of music that is driven by percussion to something more string-based, such as a violin taking the lead. Let's take for example when you ride in from Hyrule Field into the Lost Woods in Breath of the Wild. You can hear how the piano in the Hyrule theme serves as both the melody and the rhythm section. It carries the song and dictates the rhythm of it. And as soon as you step into the Lost Woods, the music changes its tone and melody. However, the piano's role continues being the same. Its role is to carry the song's energy throughout. The ambience in the Lost Woods is that of uncertainty and uneasiness, and the piano does a great deal of communicating this. The fact that the piano is used in both pieces similarly, the transition is a lot more seamless than, let's say, when you ride into Kakariko Village on your horse. The transition here is probably not so subtle. And finally, purpose. Yes, even music needs a purpose, although it wishes it didn't have a quarter-life crisis all the time. Anyways, the music's purpose has to be similar in both pieces of music. Like in the previous point, the example given between the Horse Day theme and Lost Woods theme in Breath of the Wild both serve the purpose of creating the ambience of the area. Another example is the battle theme in Breath of the Wild. It serves the purpose of making the player aware and even tense whenever they approach an enemy camp. The transition between this theme and, say, Hyrule Castle works well because of its purpose. It doesn't take the player away from the tension. Instead, it carries them to the next level of tension. Through the use of these elements, the composition of open world music might not seem too daunting after all. The importance of music in video games is a bit redundant to mention at this point. We all know it's important, but I play too many open world video games that seem to miss the mark with creating a seamless experience. Or sometimes they don't even create an experience at all and leave the legwork all to the sound design, which is fine in itself, but the magical power that music carries cannot be translated through the use of sound design solely. Look, Breath of the Wild is my favorite open world video game, but it's not perfect. In fact, I believe it relied too heavily on the fact that Hyrule Field is a barren land in this game to create an experience, and thus the game lacks the traditional music that has made The Legend of Zelda so characteristic and memorable. This game relied too much on sound design to evoke an emotion and create the ambience of the game. Sure, it works at times, but after 200 hours into the game, I can tell you it becomes a bit boring only hearing your footsteps accompanied by faint piano notes. In the end, this is nothing but my observation, and with that, I would like to know what you think. What open world game has the best use of music and makes it a seamless experience? Ladies and gentlemen, I've been True Fernie. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe and leave a like. If you didn't like it, leave a dislike. Everything helps. Links to my Twitter are down below, where you can drop more recommendations for upcoming videos. And with that, please take care of each other, but most importantly, remember to take care of yourself. Peace.